The Conservatives, the oldest political party in the UK and often thought to be one of the most successful political parties in the world, with over loads of members, over the last 100 years, they've been in power for more than 2/3 of the time. But unfortunately, they're in a bit of a sticky spot. Back in the day, the Tories were revered. What was it they called them? Impressive and ruthless, especially in eliminating electoral liabilities and, in particular, in removing its own leaders, which ultimately became their downfall. They've had some impressive ones nonetheless, the best, in my view, being Mrs Thatcher, the Iron Lady.
The honourable member is saying is that he would rather the poor were poorer, provided the rich were less rich. That way you will never create the wealth for better social services as we have.
But since then, the party has been in decline. I admit I voted for Boris, whom I still hold in high regard, and I think he was totally shafted by his own party. I didn't always agree with him, but he had the necessary charisma to lead, something that is somewhat lacking in the leaders that followed. In the end, they actually did him a favour by getting rid of him. Since David Cameron ran away after Brexit, and which didn't go his way, we've had 5 Tory leaders. Theresa May, 2016 to 2019.
Of modern Britain in all its diversity, compassion and strength that was shared around the globe, and it said something about us.
I remember that when the numbers fell off. Boris Johnson, 2019 to 2022.
Yesterday I went, as we all must, to Peppa Pig World. I don't know if you've been to Peppa Pig World. Hands up anyone who's been to Peppa Pig World?
The Right Honourable Liz Truss, 2022.
There will be a leadership election to be completed within the next week. This will ensure that we remain on a path to deliver our fiscal plans and maintain our country's economic stability and national security.
A path that didn't really go that far. I think it was 44 days, was it? The Right Honourable Rishi Sunak, 2022 to 2024.
Now is the moment for Britain to choose its future, to decide whether we want to build on the progress we have made or risk going back to square one with no plan and no certainty. Earlier today, I spoke with His Majesty the King to request the dissolution of Parliament. The King has granted this request, and we will have a general election on the 4th of July.
I'm singing in the rain. And now, new leader Kemi Badenoch.
We must leave the ECHR and repeal the Human Rights Act. But this is the only way to end spurious legal claims from immigrants with dubious stories and excuses. This is the only way to allow a British government, the next Conservative government, to deliver a British borders plan in full.
But can Kemi keep the party together after a slew of former MPs and ministers have defected to Reform UK? Jake Berry, David Jones, Nadine Dorries, and the most recent and first ever standing MP, Danny Kruger, giving Reform UK another seat. Today, one of the Conservative Party's biggest donors defected to Reform UK. You see, the problem is that the Tories failed us on immigration and the economy, which are the two things that they were meant to be good at. DEI became a thing under their watch, and they created net zero. Also under their watch, legal migration reached 1 million, and under their watch, the dinghies started arriving. Their half-baked Brexit deal, negotiated, in my view, by people who didn't want to leave the EU, left the UK wide open and weak. They handed Labour a rotten hand, and not all their fault, mind. We had COVID and war. But the problem was that the Tories just weren't Conservative. And now Kemi Badenoch has pledged to deport 150,000 illegal migrants a year with new Trump-style immigration squads, and she wants to ditch the ECHR and net zero. All things they should have done when in office. She's hemorrhaging members to Reform UK. They're defecting like rats leaving a sinking ship. The question is, who's next? I'm afraid it's too little, too late.
We're living in a time of what feels like pretty significant social change, and it makes us question things that we've even taken for granted for decades. And one of those at the moment that people are wondering about is actually money. Is the money in your bank account safe? Should you be investing elsewhere? Are we looking at a potential global crash? What will it mean for your savings? Is there a way that you could be using your money that might be outside of government control even? Well, TallyMoney is potentially one solution. So I'm delighted to say that I'm joined today by the CEO and founder of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. What is TallyMoney?
Well, at TallyMoney, you basically get gold you can spend. So we give people an individual account in their name, everyday account. They get a sort code, an account number. They use that account just like they would pounds from their bank, but it's milligrams of gold that we brand as Tally.
Okay. Why would you do that, though? What is the benefit to the customer instead of just having a normal pound sterling account?
Gold's performance against the pound is above 11% per annum over the last 25 years on average. But we still need money in our daily lives, and we have savings. We know that it's good common sense and prudent to save up for things, not just living credit. You know, whether it's a holiday or a rainy day, your retirement planning, you need to have money in your life, basically, that you can rely on, that's dependable, that nobody meddles with, that nobody can weaponise against you, which is another element of government control when it's the government currency, which we could talk about another time. And it should be pretty simple and straightforward, and that's what we deliver at Tally. And really, we just want people to feel safe and happy with their money. There was a time when the bigger your bank balance, the more confident you felt. Now it's like, I need to do something with it. I can't leave it there. In Tally, you can.
Okay, brilliant. Cameron Parry from TallyMoney, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bev.
Well, let's speak to Andrew Allison, who is from the Popular Conservatism group. Andrew, I'm literally waiting to hear the next defection. It's concerning. What are your thoughts? Kemi gave quite a good speech, I thought. It was quite impassioned. How are you feeling at this conference today?
Well, I've just arrived, actually, Nana, and I haven't listened to her speech in full. I have heard various clips of it. It does appear to be a good speech, and it appears to be very well received. But the charge list that you read out there for about 5 minutes, it seemed like at the top of the hour, is very true. And the problems that the Conservative Party faces is that the main problem, anyway, is that the public just doesn't trust it after 14 years, and it's got to be able to rebuild that trust, which means not just saying sorry, it means telling the people what they are sorry for, what went wrong, and what must be done to fix it.
You see, I read that out because I wrote that, and I was thinking that you might defend some of it, but I'm glad to hear that you appreciate that I did vote Conservative, before, and I was a Conservative voter. I've also voted Labour under Tony Blair, and I've pretty much voted for every party as it goes. Just depends what they say and then how they perform. And it would be very difficult for the Conservatives to come back from their last term in office. So what do you think? Do you believe that your party can actually come back from this?
You never say never in politics, Nana. I mean, if you've gone to a similar period after a general election in March 2021, and you'd said, well, what I think will happen at the next general election is Labour will win a landslide majority, I think you'd have been laughed at. But of course, that is exactly what happened. And we don't know what's going to happen to Reform. I mean, Reform could implode in some way. Things could go badly wrong for Reform. We're a long way out from a general election. I do think that the party leadership has wasted quite a number of months. It should have been detailing some very clear Conservative positions. We don't need the actual policies that immediately after the election this will happen and that will happen. We don't really need those details, but we certainly needed a lot more Conservative positions. Which direction is the party going in? Now, we know from recent announcements on net zero last week, and of course over the weekend to do with the ECHR, what the clear Conservative position is, and that's absolutely fantastic, but we need more of them. And I'll just reiterate, what Kemi has to do and what the shadow cabinet has to do is said, this is the reason why we got it so badly wrong, and this is what we need to do to put it right, and then hopefully build the trust with the voters.
Well, it says something when you're saying, well, maybe reform will implode and then you maybe get some. I think even if reform do go a bit awry on a few things, I don't think the British public will leave Reform UK. I think Reform have touched a real nerve with the British public, and I think that this two-party system, I think that this system is really the problem, really, and people have had enough with the main parties. I'm not sure the Conservatives can get back, but do you think maybe changing the leader potentially to Robert Jenrick might help a little in some way?
We seem to be changing leaders on a regular basis. I mean, my colleague Mark Littlewood said that the Conservative Party changes leaders more often than the chairman sack their football managers in the Premier League. It's really that bad. The results at the local elections in May, could they really be put at the door of Kemi Badenoch, or were they just already baked in? Indeed, are the results next year just already baked in? The Conservative Party is going through a very difficult time, probably the most difficult time that it ever has in its history. All it can do is just to be conservative again and try to build up trust. That, of course, comes from the grassroots as well. It means local campaigners for councils, setting out their stall, and it means building up trust. And that's all the party can do. Do I think that Reform is going to implode? No, I honestly don't think that it is. But it may not stick at the same sort of levels in the polls as it's polling now.
I think it may even go higher. But listen, I appreciate your resolve to stay with the party, because most people are leaving like rats leaving a sinking ship. But it's good to talk to you. Thank you very much, Andrew Addison, for your time. Enjoy the conference. That's Andrew Addison. He's there. He's a popular Conservative. He's part of that group, and he's at the Tory party conference.